Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. All right. We're
side
live.
note,
What's
in
going
that
on? I got to intro this first before you
go
get to
for
your
it.
side note. So, Patreon live stream. You guys know the drill. We're going to talk about the news at the top here. Danny, get to your side note, and then we'll get into it. If you guys are watching this after the fact, if you want to join these, obviously, link is in the description to get access to these private live streams where we get to everybody's questions and all that good stuff. So, Danny, go ahead.
For sure. All I was gonna say is, if you guys haven't seen the mock draft that Corey posted today, you fiends in the Discord really made me draft a win now team. I felt disgusting. Disgusting. First of all, I had to take Fields at 11 to prove the point that he was my quarterback 7. I probably could have waited to my second round pick, but I'm like, you know what? I'll show the Discord that I would take Fields here. If it came down to it, gun to my head, I'm gonna take Justin Fields as my quarterback 7 off the board, my 7th overall player in Superflex leagues right now. The way he's playing, he could legitimately be the 3rd overall pick if he keeps this up. Genuinely, that's not even out of the range of outcomes, which you can't say for many assets in Superflex period.
Yeah, I agree. I think he definitely could be quite up there, especially from the pure fantasy production standpoint. You can make the argument if he keeps playing the way he's playing, you can make the argument that you would take him over the passing quarterbacks just because his raw fantasy point total is so high. And speaking of rushing quarterbacks, just because I'm a KJ Jefferson stan, the Arkansas quarterback. If he comes out this year, dude, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be higher on this dude than anybody else. He's 6'3", he's 242 pounds, he's averaging 9 yards an attempt right now, passing the ball, and he has over 500 rushing yards in 8 games. We're talking about a dual threat, 204, 6'3", 240 pounds. Who does that sound like? Justin Fields? That's exactly what his dimensions are. So.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's the type of dude we're looking at. He's got a big test today against LSU. So I'm actually going to be watching that game at 12 o'clock as it's kicking off right now. So
he's young too. Isn't he 21?
Yeah, he's draft eligible this year, and I believe he's a redshirt sophomore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a true junior. I can't remember exactly where he's at, but definitely a guy that I'm high on.
The rushing acumen alone is very, very impressive for him too.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the news real quick. A lot of injuries this week. So I'm going to rattle off the guys that are out confirmed. Both the Chargers wide receivers, Mike Williams, apparently expected to maybe start practicing next week, but he is out for this game with the high ankle sprain. Keenan Allen out again. I mean, just disgusting what he's done this fantasy season.
Yeah.
Not a fantasy related player, but Marshawn Lattimore will actually be out. And why that's relevant is that he was supposed to shadow Deontay Johnson against the Steelers. So, a little bit of a boost up for him. McCole Hardman out with an abdomen injury. Maybe that means more Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore on the field. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that one. The real injury news is the questionable stuff, right? We have a couple quarterbacks that are big time question marks with Josh Allen dealing with the elbow injury. Vegas seems to think he's going to miss the game by the looks of it. They're only 3-point favorites at the moment. Or maybe that's kind of like a halfway in between him playing and him not playing. I don't exactly know what that means from a betting standpoint. Kyler Murray is a game time decision with a hamstring injury, as well as is Matthew Stafford with a concussion. So a lot of interesting quarterback wrinkles there. I think if Josh Allen doesn't play, Gabriel Davis is borderline unstartable. Not unstartable because the Vikings pass defense isn't very
volatile wide receiver 4.
Little Case Keenum revenge game also. So maybe he does do some work against them, but I don't think he's a guy that I absolutely have to start. Kyler Murray if he's out, that downgrades Rondale Moore to kind of the same territory. DeAndre Hopkins is still in your lineup if Colt McCoy, I believe, is the backup in Arizona. So, he gravitated a lot towards Zach Ertz last year when Kyler was out for a couple games. So he might be a little bit of an upgrade as a result. And Matthew Stafford, I think Stafford's going to end up playing, but John Wolford, I believe, is the quarterback in relief. And they said something about using Bryce Hopkins as like a Taysom Hill type if John Wolford is the quarterback. So that's interesting. Also, Ryan Tannehill should probably play with the ankle injury that he's been out with the last couple games.
The best potential pivot, by the way, if you have Kyler Murray, I actually don't mind going out and picking up Jimmy Garoppolo as your insurance plan. Because, if he doesn't play, obviously we know Sunday Night Football, we do have the 49ers playing against the LA Chargers. So that's a positive matchup for Jimmy Garoppolo. He's played relatively decent this year. And
Debo back.
Yeah, he gets Debo back. And realistically, if you're without Kyler, at least he has the upside to, give you 17 to 22 is probably his range of outcome.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple I think Daniel Jones not a bad streamer as well.
Agree with that.
Who probably was dropped last week because he was on bye.
Plays at 1 though.
Russell, I know Russell Wilson's been terrible. I also don't think he's a terrible streamer this week just because the entire defensive line for Tennessee is out for this game. Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree, they're all out for this game. The over-under was 36.5 when it opened. It's 39.5 now. So the over is getting steamed because Tennessee's defense is really depleted up front. So I think it's possible that Russell Wilson's not a terrible streamer this week, but not a great game environment nonetheless. The other questionables we have, it sounds like Ezekiel Elliott's going to play, dealing with the ankle injury. It sounds like he's going to be back. Brandon Cooks also sounds like he's going to play. He's been practicing with a wrist injury, but we also thought it might have just been personal why he was out last week for the same thing. And then J.D. McKissick also probably out with the neck injury, so that upgrades Antonio Gibson. I think J.D. McKissick's going to get put on IR personally, but we'll kind of have to wait and see. And then I'll rattle off the ins real quick. Debo not listed on the injury report. He's good to go with the hamstring injury. Jonathan Taylor also not listed on the injury report. Good to go with the ankle injury. Aaron Jones, same thing. Ankle injury not listed on the injury report, but I do think A.J. Dillon probably gets a slight bump in his workload. Jarvis Landry not listed on the injury report with his ankle injury. He's going to be back for the Saints. Kyron Williams is making his debut for the Rams. I don't think he's going to be a ton of fantasy relevant goodness out of Kyron Williams himself, but it does definitely muddies up Darrell Henderson. You probably can't start him if Kyron Williams is playing, especially if Stafford's not playing either. And then Jahan Dotson's probably going to be back from the hamstring injury as well on Monday night. But we won't know for sure until inactives are out for that game.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is the injury news. Let's get into some of your guys' questions. Beanie Weenie, first one in here. What's up, guys? I need a spot start this week for bye weeks. Here are my options: MVS, Mac Hollins, Michael Gallup, and Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I'd go with DPJ.
Yeah, I think DPJ is the best option here. I also don't mind Gallup, given that CeeDee Lamb's probably going to have a tough time with. I don't know if Jair is going to shadow him or whatever, but I do think it's a tougher matchup for CeeDee Lamb than we're used to. So I don't think Gallup's a terrible play either. But the game total in that Browns-Dolphins game is too enticing for me on DPJ. I also, MVS, for what it's worth, isn't terrible because Hardman will be out. So there's a possibility he sees a little bit more of an uptick in snaps as well.
I don't think Hollins is bad either with Waller.
These are all I don't think these are. I think there's a lot of people in worse situations. I think I'd be fine. Sure. If I had to spot start any four of these guys, but I would go DPJ.
All these guys are upside wide receiver fours is their range right now, like in that wide receiver 36 to 45 type of range for me.
Yeah, I want to see Gallup just start to play better. He's probably not 100% right now, like probably not even 85, 90%. Well, Deepak put out in his thread that he should be 100% by December. So that's when we're looking at the timeline because he suffered the injury like in late December, early January, I believe, right?
Interesting. Yeah, exactly. He suffered it in the Arizona game, I believe, week 16. So it makes a lot of sense timeline wise. The other interesting thing is, we even heard Chris Godwin say himself, like, it's like been a struggle to get back to full capacity after the knee injury, like bit by bit, piece by piece, week by week. It's going to be a process. So I'm assuming, like, again, if it's happening to Chris Godwin, who actually returned slightly earlier than Gallup, but also suffered the injury slightly earlier than Gallup, it would make sense that Gallup might be going through the same type of complications. Not to mention, Chris Godwin's has an easier time, if you will, in fantasy because of the role he plays in your offense, underneath threat. He's not
a downfield option, and also he hasn't been efficient since he came back too.
Exactly.
Like he's had, I think, like 12 targets for like 30 yards last week. Like he's not a guy that's giving you explosive big plays. He has like one big play on the entire season. He had like a 40-yard catch 2 weeks ago against whatever team they played 2 weeks ago, Carolina, I think it was, or something like that. But either way, he's not been 100% yet. I think we're going to get a big time bounce back out of him down the stretch and into next season as well. Kmet or Foster Moreau is a streaming option for Mark Andrews owners or other suggestions. So I think Moreau's definitely the target play because, Renfro and Waller, they're both out. It's just Devontae Adams really, but I do love Kmet as like a potential to score a touchdown because he was used in the red zone last week. It's a high game total with the Bears Lions. I think it would depend on the league format. If this is a full PPR league, I think I go Moreau. If it's half or standard, I'd go Kmet.
Yeah, I'd go half or PPR for Moreau, and then standard I'd go Kmet. But I will agree that in terms of like likelihood to score a touchdown, it would probably be in Kmet's favor.
Yeah. It's a gross bye week for my squad. Start to DeAndre Carter, Jerick McKinnon, Jalen Warren, or Latavius Murray. So Carter, I think, is pretty easily in my line.
Carter and Latavius.
You going Latavius over Warren, given the reports that we've heard about Warren getting potentially more work this week?
Well, we saw the uptick in work. Again, he could theoretically work into a bigger role, but Latavius Murray handled 55% of the Broncos carries. We kind of already mentioned that the Titans are without.
We have Chase Edmonds in the fold now, so that might muddy things up.
I think he's more so going to play that Mike Boone role, to be honest, like third tertiary type of weapon in this offense. But Latavius Murray, he has for the most part handled the in between the 20s work. Again, we'll see how valuable that actually is. But we've seen him legitimately get a 10 to 15 opportunity role which projecting that for Warren, I think would be an absolute treat. Like if he ends up going this week and has that, yes, I'm fine with ranking him as like a top 30 to 35-ish running back every week. But right now, Latavius Murray just has the workload that I can't pass up on.
Yeah, I think with Latavius though, like he's got to fall his fat ass into the end zone, or you're disappointed
Probably.
with that play. Like Warren could break off a long run or something like that. So if you needed an upside play, I think Warren probably is the guy to go with. But you're just hoping for a touchdown if you start Latavius Murray. Also, McKinnon kind of fits that description too. You're probably hoping for a touchdown with him.
The thing with McKinnon is it's quite literally like a 40-30-30 split in that backfield.
Yeah, no, it literally is. Actually, CEH had his lowest split of the pretty much of his entire career. Pacheco was more involved in the early down work, but McKinnon
all of them stunk.
Going to change.
All of them stunk.
Yeah,
like,
they all stunk.
I wouldn't be shocked if you're looking at which, by the way, if the Chiefs are picking at the back of the first and they add like a Jahmyr Gibbs to that offense, man.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. But I mean, they drafted a pass catching running back at the end of the first one.
Except one's actually good.
Yeah, one's actually good for sure. But I mean, I thought CH would at least be a good pass catching running back, and he hasn't even really been that so far in this. Anyways, when do you think Chase returns? Sitting at 6-3, need him for the playoffs. I think Chase will be back after the bye, if not the week if not the week after. I think he's probably going to be back in week 12 at the latest. If I had to say, I think he should be back soon.
Yep, agreed. Would you rather have a top 5 pick in 2023 or a first and second in 2024? One quarterback.
One quarterback league.
Do you have any insight on the one quarterback league where those picks might end up?
Also, is it just a guaranteed top 5 pick, or do I have a legitimate shot at the 101?
Yeah, let us know, Jay.
I mean, you're talking the top overall pick in 2023 one quarterback drafts will be the 101 in startups. In my opinion, like I think Bijan will be the one. Like maybe you want to lean the receivers if you wanted to go longevity factor, but I think as far as that value of that pick, is Bijan Robinson the first player off the board in a one quarterback startup? No, you don't think so? I think he would be for me.
Chase and Jefferson,
right? That's the only argument though, probably. Right?
That is an easy argument for me.
Really? I think, especially
not even close. I mean,
it'll depend on landing spot too. If we have Philadelphia Eagles running back Bijan Robinson, he's the consensus first overall pick. I think
he's third for me. Like no matter where he lands, like Chase and Jefferson are quite like they're generational wide receivers, both under the age of 23.
I think you got a generational running backs always.
But the difference in shelf life is between 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I'm saying overall value on the open market will be. I think it will lean Bijan.
Maybe. Either way, I would just go with. I mean, but if you figure all three of them are going to be 20+ point per game scores, which is definitely in the range of outcomes if they're all healthy, like I would just take the receivers at that point.
Yeah, the payout has dropped considerably in my Bitcoin league. It was the first year that the league was in operation, it was actually quite a high payout, but now it's dropped considerably. I don't have to worry. See, the nice thing for me is this is like an additional wrinkle to this league is that hopefully Bitcoin rebounds at the time that I'm ready to compete, because I am in a 1-year productive struggle kind of situation where I have, 4 2023 firsts this year and 3 seconds and, a bunch of picks and stuff. And my foundations, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, guys like that. So hopefully by the time I'm ready to compete, Bitcoin has rebounded. So I feel bad for the win now teams that are in this situation right now, but hopefully the payout kind of rebounds at that point. Addison is first ranked wide receiver in the class. Where would you put him compared to 2022?
He's currently not my number one.
Grade the guy, but I think he's probably going to slide somewhere around where I had Garrett Wilson ranked.
I agree.
The wide receiver 2 in that class was where I had Garrett Wilson.
I agree in the sense that like we got to go full study on these guys, but I mean, what I've already seen from Quentin Johnson, man, it's tough because again, like I think Addison's gonna
over Johnston for sure.
Addison's gonna be the more pro-ready guy. He's probably gonna have a better rookie season. But just talking about the traits, talking about what they can do. Not to mention, I mean, you're still getting really good production in college this year with Quentin Johnson. Like, if any of them are gonna be like a bona fide like number one receiver, I trust.
I think we did this song and dance with Chris Olave last year and Garrett Wilson, where it's like we think the bona fide number one wide receiver needs to be a big receiver. I think Jordan Addison can absolutely be a bona fide number one at his size.
The question I have is, can he play consistent snaps at the X?
Yeah, I don't think he has a problem doing it at all.
I think so, but at the same time, I've seen Quentin dominate at the X.
Yeah,
that's the decider.
I don't think, and I still think JSN has an argument
for
in
sure.
This conversation as well. But I just the
We're,
profile
we're
of Addison, Blitnikoff winner as your
yeah.
sophomore season, and also once he gets back from injury, he should have a productive back half of the year as well.
He's very similar to like a Devontae Smith, Chris Olave type of profile. It's just when I look
I
at
think he's got a better profile than those guys because
Probably.
he's going to be an early declare who's going to get high draft capital,
Probably.
and he was productive as not just productive, dominant as a sophomore.
No, don't get me wrong. He's clear top 2 for me. And again, I'm probably going to be flipping between him and QJ quite a lot this offseason until I like sit down, watch like a bunch of games of them like in depth, all 22. But I mean, like, Quentin Johnson's just a physical freak. He's going to test out of the wazoo. He's productive this year. He is the lifeblood of that TCU offense right now, which has been one of the top 5 offenses in college football. Like, I would be shocked if Quentin Johnson wasn't
tonight, by the way. Huge.
Maybe,
huge
yeah.
Game. 7-point favorites, Texas.
I actually think you guys are going to win.
I think we're going to win, but I bet TCU +7.
I don't mind that.
I think the spread's a little wide for the 4th ranked team versus like the 20th ranked team or wherever we are, 15th ranked team or something.
Side note, I think Quentin Johnson, if he keeps playing the way he has been, he's going to be a locked-in top 10 pick. Like, I don't see him falling past the Bears. I don't see him falling past what other wide receiver need.
It's tough, man, because his profile has not traditionally been valued highly by the NFL. I think if we get any shades of Jackson Smith and Jigba from his sophomore year, and Addison continues to come back and do his thing, I think both of them will go over Johnson in the NFL draft. Based on how NFL teams value players.
The only thing I would be concerned about there from an NFL perspective is, I mean,
the slot usage for JSN.
Yeah, they might peg him as a slot-only player, but more so if you're looking to like just get, again, I hate making this rationalization because I think all 3 of them are very, very talented players, but who's going to check the most boxes off from an NFL perspective? From a size, speed, ability to play the X, production, everything you name it is all there for Quentin Johnson. Again, we're picking straws here. All of these 3 guys can legitimately be bona fide top 10, 15 overall wide receivers in the NFL. It's just a matter of what team preferences, man. Like I genuinely want to see what the landing spots, what the draft capital is going to dictate for all of them, because I think they're all going to be top 20 picks.
Yeah, I think the awesome landing spot situation that you could get for Quentin Johnson is going. I mean, pre-Calvin Ridley trade, it would have been like the Jaguars. He would have been like a perfect fit with Trevor Lawrence's arm. And Chicago would be a great fit also, for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to see Addison with a quarterback that knows how to get the ball to the receiver on time. I think Mac Jones would be a perfect quarterback for that, assuming we get the Mac Jones that we saw his rookie season, not the one that we got this year.
I'm just saying if Aaron
and I know the Patriots would love Jordan Addison too, because I know they love Devontae Smith.
If Aaron Rodgers wanted to kick it for another year, I think he'd be pushing the table for Addison.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome fit as well. JSN would also kind of fit the mold of both of those teams. Like I think the Patriots just love their like pseudo slot receiver types. I think they would love JSN as well. So, hopefully I didn't jinx myself claiming the playoff spot this early. No, I think you're 6-3. You got Chase coming back. You should be good and loaded for a playoff spot.
I personally would want more, but I understand it again if you're competing, because I mean Mooney over more the rest of this year. But
I think we might see a little bit of an Elijah Moore resurgence down the stretch.
We could.
The slot receiver, just get him back on the goddamn field, man. Like honestly,
I think
they're not doing this.
I think this year might be a dead cause.
It might be a lost season for Elijah Moore, but I think we might see more hope than we've seen to this point. Let me just put it that way.
I mean, I love the player. Don't get me wrong. It's just I feel like a lot of like our value right now, personally for myself, why I have him so high is point blank simple. Really good prospect, really good flashes in his rookie season. But for like being objective here, like he has had as disappointing of a second year as we could have possibly.
It's worse than Ayuk last year. It's worse than Ayuk.
Way worse. Way worse.
Because by week 5, week 6, Ayuk was already back on track. It was just like he had such a sour taste in our mouth in the first couple weeks that people think his sophomore year was like really, really disappointing. When I mean,
he's sick down the stretch, man.
What Ayuk has done his third year too, since from the time of his like week 6, week 7 area when he turned it on his sophomore year to now, I bet he's probably been a top 15 receiver at minimum in fantasy from those like 2 points.
For starters, this year alone, I mean, he's averaging over 50 yards per game. Actually, nearly 61 yards per game, so on 1,000-yard pace, and he started off the season slow.
Yeah, like it's wild to me, like that Ayuk is just continuing to prove that he's a great receiver. And again, when we're talking dynasty values, we have no idea what's going to happen in San Francisco. Trey Lance could become the guy. They could trade for Tom Brady. Like we have no clue what's going to happen around a wide receiver. But what we do know for certain is that Brandon Ayuk can get open. He can make things happen after the catch, and he can score fantasy points. And he's been literally like a wide receiver too. Anytime he's gotten a full amount of snaps on the field, competing for like Debo's averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game right now. Brandon Ayuk has 13.9. Like it's been that close between those. This is more what we expected his sophomore year, because me and you, as has been documented many times, we're not high on Debo Samuel coming into the year last year because we thought Ayuk could really eat into that workload. And we saw it down the stretch because they moved Debo more into like the wing back position and Ayuk back to like the X or whatever. And we're seeing it again this year, but definitely interesting to see how it kind of plays out with him.
101 is 1-8. Pick currently is 3-6. How close can you be to like top 4? Because I think 5 is the cutoff in one quarterback leagues. One quarterback leagues probably even.
In one quarterback league, I think it's the top 3 running backs are a clear tier break for me, probably.
Probably. I mean, I still like those tier 2.
I like the receivers as well, but I think you're like in terms of like startup value, those running backs have a chance to be top 6 to 8 dynasty running backs from the second they get drafted.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Whereas, like, what's the ceiling? Like, let's say Addison and Quentin Johnston get top 10 draft capital to good landing spots. Where are they valued among wide receivers? Like, maybe the 15 to 20 range, maybe, right? Like, that's the ceiling. Like,
Quentin
before they start playing games.
I think they could be top 15 receivers. Like
right off. I'm saying right off the get go. No, not like after they start playing games.
I mean, as soon as they get drafted in like high first round capital, I would easily take them over like DVS and stuff.
Like Devontae Smith.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. But like, I think Devontae Smith is like my wide receiver 19 right now in Dynasty. Like, there's still quite a bit of receivers that you'd have to push them over.
So Smith is currently my wide receiver. Wait, this is ours. Okay, why does mine say wide receiver? What the fuck?
Oh, because you probably.
Okay. I probably put the inputs in wrong.
I'll fix it.
Either way, let me actually go to my input so I can see exactly where my rankings are. Oh, it's because you don't actually have the wide receiver part on yours.
Yeah, no, you're just supposed to have the rank there listed.
Got you. That's my fault then. Okay. Devontae Smith is my wide receiver 19, Marquise 18, Pittman 17, Olave a tentative 16, considering like you're mixing in the win.
Yeah, like, so are you going to take those guys with top 10 draft capital over Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Drake London, who also
not over them, but I would take them over Pittman and stuff easily.
That's fine. I think that's fine. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's basically the 15 to 20 range, though, is what we're talking about.
It 100% is. But I mean,
versus like Bijan will be the dynasty running back 1 if he gets top 15 draft capital, which he probably will. Sean Tucker and Gibbs, assuming their top 50 picks, are going to be at minimum top 8 dynasty running backs, I would assume.
Yep. No, I would agree with that as well. You have where we left off.
Yeah. We got Jay Foles in here. What up, my dudes? Danny, you ready for them Cowboys D to wreak havoc on the Packers? Call it an upset pick. I think the Packers win the game.
Shut up.
I don't know, man. The NFL is always like an any given Sunday type of league. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to fold.
The only worry I have about this game is Aaron Rodgers plays his best football against Dallas, and that is only like a preconceived bias because I've seen this guy beat Dallas before. But if we're looking objectively on paper, like it's not even close. Like the Cowboys should win.
It did not fix the formula, by the way. You have to remove that wide receiver column and put the rank there. I'm fixing it.
Okay. No, I wasn't doing it right now.
That's why.
Fair.
That's why. It has to be there.
What was I gonna say? Oh, with Aaron Rodgers, that's the only worry that I do have. However, I mean, if we're looking objectively, like how these teams have performed, the Cowboys should beat them by 3 touchdowns.
They should. That is the discrepancy. That's what's going to happen. I think everybody's so certain that the Cowboys are going to win that I think they're going to lose. I'm
still like 85% confident that we're going to like beat the crap out of them, but like the 15% could be, Aaron Rodgers leading a game-winning drive, like just because I've seen it before. Like 2016, like the Cowboys should have made the NFC Championship, and then Rodgers pulled it out of his ass.
That's fair.
Yeah. So like, I think it's more so like battle scars because I've seen the guy do it before, but at the same time, like objectively, like the Packers are decimated and they weren't a good team before they were decimated. They are literally without 2 of their best 4 defensive players.
Stokes and Gary are both out, right?
Romeo Doubs is hurt. Aaron Jones is banged up. Is Bakhtiari even playing? Because I know he got hurt last week too. I gotta see the injury
I
status.
think he's like a game time decision or something like that. He might even be already ruled out. It's not looking great for the Packers. I just think, I don't know. Whenever there's like a heavy, like not a heavy favorite, because it's not like a super big like spread on them or whatever. I just feel like everybody's certain that the Packers are crumbling and done. And I feel like they're probably going to just eke out a gross win with like their run game or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely still have like a little bit of hesitance because again, it's fucking Aaron Rodgers. I've seen him do it before, but I mean, basically, I'll be able to tell how the game's going off the first 2 series of the game. Like if the Cowboys defense is smothering this Packers offense, we might win by like 30 points. But if like Aaron Rodgers comes out and he's getting in rhythm and he's looking like himself, then I can see it. I just don't think he can do that against that pass rush. Genuinely, like I don't think they have the facilities to be able to man up and block what's actually been like by far from a performance metric standpoint, by far the best edge duo in the NFL this year. Like it's not even close.
Yeah,
Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence have been 2 of the top 5 graded edge rushers in the entire NFL this year.
I noticed you snuck DeMarcus Lawrence in there.
No, no. I'm being genuine.
I'm just messing with you. Chill.
Oh, no. But like the reason why I'm saying that, DeMarcus Lawrence is like quite literally like PFF's number 5 graded edge. And in terms of pass rush win rate and double team win rate, both of them are in the top 5, like the top right quadrant in the entire NFL with like Myles Garrett and shit.
Yeah. Okay, so Corey says 2 late 2023 seconds in Dynasty. What running back falls there? I mean, and are you competing? Are you rebuilding? I guess if you're rebuilding, you're probably not buying running backs, but
maybe Kendre Miller. Think Kendre Miller could fall there?
I think he means in a trade. Like if he trades away 2 late 2023 seconds, what current active running back can he get for that? I would say
assumed it as
like Miles Sanders. I would say, like if you're trying to compete.
That would make sense. I read the question as like what running backs in this year's draft might fall.
Yeah, no, in late seconds in terms of like the backs that you're going to get, it'd probably be like Kendre Miller, like who
by the way,
type of area, Devon Achane.
Kendre Miller's very interesting, dude. Like very.
Yeah, he's got size. He's producing really highly right now. He plays for a high. We know NFL teams pay attention to how good a college football team is too, and because his team is potentially going to make the college football playoff. If they win today, they should have an easy, I think. Do they play anybody else? Or are they going to go undefeated if they win today?
I mean, the Big 12 is honestly a toss up, dude. Like I can see any team winning any week. Like
you need us to win, or else TCU is going to make it.
I think Texas is going to win, but even if they don't, even if TCU sneaks the W in that game,
they're going to run the table if they win. I'm pretty sure, right?
Baylor's still a tough team. They have to play them on the road.
Yeah.
Like Baylor's a 6-3 team. Baylor's a solid team.
I think TCU's offense will light up their defense.
And although I think they're gonna beat Iowa State, like Iowa State always seems to fucking play tough in these Big 12 games. Like they fucking played tough against Texas. They played tough against fucking Iowa. Like Iowa's not a Big 12 team, but they basically should be with how many times they play Iowa State. But you know what I mean? Like they have these games where we're propping TCU up right now in Valley, so they have good wins. They're an undefeated team, but like, are we really sure on paper they're like that much better than Texas? They're that much better than Baylor? Like, I don't really see them as like
Bama's number 9. If TCU played Bama, what happens?
Oh, they lose by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like I think they're a bit of a Fugazi number 4, and I think they get waxed in the first round of the college football playoffs. But
I genuinely think right now, like in terms of the college football landscape, so like Georgia is like the clear like number 1
team. They would destroy TCU if they played them.
They probably destroy any other team in college football right now. But like I think they'd beat Ohio State and Michigan. And again, I'm biased. I love Michigan. I think they beat each of them by probably 14 points plus.
Yeah,
like that's how good they are. But after that, I mean, I think Ohio State and Michigan are like the clear 2-3 right now.
This entire season is just a
formality,
and a formality for Georgia's back-to-back championships, probably.
Though I will say, the winner of OSU Michigan is like pretty much a walk-in for the championship to play in the Natty.
Yeah, definitely could be. To answer Corey's question, though, the type of guy I'd be going after is like Miles Sanders, David Montgomery. Maybe that gets you like a Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon, but probably not.
He said rookie draft.
Oh, he said within the rookie draft? Yeah, so I'm thinking the guys that I have rated in that area. Let me go to my rankings right now.
Kenny McIntosh is pretty interesting if he gets proper draft capital.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get drafted that high personally. I think Devon Achane, Tank Bigsby, Kendre Miller, I'm not a big Deuce Vaughn guy because of his size, but like Kenny McIntosh. Israel Abaconda's
I'm
interesting too.
I'm really interested to see where he goes in the draft, because if he sneaks in like that 3-4 range, like he could be a very
I feel like
interesting
every
profile.
time we think that a guy is going to go there, they end up going on day 3.
Yeah.
Like I thought Tyler Algier was going to for sure go in the 3rd round, and I mean he looks like a good player, so it looks like the NFL kind of screwed up with that. But yeah, that'll be interesting. I'd be interested to see how many like 3rd and 4th round running backs we get, because if we have a bunch of them start to emerge as the draft process goes along, this is going to be one of the better running back classes in recent memory, because there's definitely the 1st round caliber talent. There's definitely the 2nd round caliber talent. The only question mark I really have is the 3rd and 4th round caliber talent.
Yeah,
which we actually had quite a bit of in this previous class with guys like Damian Pierce and Algier and stuff like that, and a couple years ago with the Ramondre Stevenson class or whatever too. That was a good middle of the pack kind of running back tier, but not a lot of high end talent.
Crypto Philly says Schultz or Higbee. Give me Dalton Schultz this week.
Yeah,
especially with the tough matchup with the receivers on the outside. I think
Dalton with Stafford potentially being out. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking Schultz there
for sure. I want to trade my 2 firsts for the current 101, but things can change it fast in this game. Depending on where those land. If they're like the 104 and the 112. He says
he's got the 306 right now, or the team that he has is 3-6 right now, so it's probably the 104 or the 105. If you're telling me like guaranteed
1 quarterback league, yes,
101 for the 104 and the 110 or something like that, I'm easily doing that for Bijan, like in a heartbeat. But like I would probably wait to do that after the season.
I'd agree with that. I'm not competing in that league, but Wilson has been the quarterback I was hoping for. Yeah, and I agree with that. I do think, side note, Corey, if Wilson keeps playing the way he is.
Are you referring to Russ or Zach?
Zach.
Okay.
If Zach keeps playing the way he's been playing, and they barely miss the playoffs or they barely sneak into the playoffs, the Raiders are going to have a top 5 pick this year. The Raiders need to overhaul that team and rebuild that team. I think that Derek Carr might actually be available. And I mean, he's a top 12 to 15 level quarterback. You got a very good infrastructure there in the Jets.
I agree, but I think if Wilson shows you enough that you're at least intrigued by him going forward,
I'm more so saying like if he doesn't
stick with Zach Wilson. If you know for sure he's not going to be the dude, then maybe, that makes some sense. But if he shows enough that like you guys like, if the Jets barely miss the playoffs or they're one and done maybe in the 1st round, then I mean, I think Zach Wilson probably showed enough that you should give him his 3rd season.
I got a scenario for you. Like, say he doesn't like take that step. If you're the Jets and Las Vegas comes calling and say, listen, we'll give you Derek Carr. We want Zach Wilson, your 2nd round pick this year and your 4th round pick this year. If you're the Jets, you're taking that. You have to.
I don't know. Is Derek Carr worth that much to I think Las Vegas wants to get rid of Derek Carr also, though.
But that's what I mean. But if you're the Jets and okay, this is like a legitimate 8 to 10 win team with a quarterback play that's been atrocious, you get Derek Carr, who I mean,
they win 11 games probably this year.
Talent wise, like the Raiders line has been a mess this year, to be honest. Their pass weapons have been injured. Fair, but I mean, they're getting guys back healthy next year, and I think they have a better infrastructure.
Yeah, next year they would be, but like ABT's been out, Becton's been out all year, Fant's been in and out of the lineup. Their line's been rough, and I mean, we know what the splits are. Zach Wilson's like maybe the worst quarterback all time under pressure versus like actually a good quarterback when he's playing from a clean pocket. So it's interesting for sure. He's kind of got the Cousins effect. I've always kind of said that the ceiling projection for Zach Wilson was like Ryan Tannehill 2019, 2020, like how well Ryan Tannehill played for those like 2 years. I think that's what you're hoping out of Zach Wilson, and you're not going to get that if you log on him too early. So unless he's a complete and utter disaster down the stretch, I think they should give him his 3rd season.
Yeah, that's fair. Have Kyler this week. Would you start Geno and not risk being? Yeah, I think I actually just would start Geno. I mean,
I don't love Geno this week though, for what it's worth. I think the Bucs defense is real. The under in that game is probably the freest cash I've ever seen in my life. I don't think there's going to be a ton of score. Like 45.5 is a lot of points for a struggling Buccaneers offense, a Seahawks defense that's playing a lot better recently, and a Buccaneers defense that's finally healthy and playing better. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in that game. So if Kyler plays, I would rather play him. But unless you know that before the 9:30 a.m. kickoffs, then I'm cool going with Geno.
You want to hear something that is going to make me rip my hair out too?
What's that?
NBA wise. Okay. So I'm a Lakers fan.
Okay.
The Lakers are
quick.
I will. The Lakers are currently 2-10. 2 wins, 10 losses.
Oof.
Their 1st round pick this year was traded to New Orleans in part of the Anthony Davis trade.
Right.
The number 1 prospect this year, like if you get the number 1 pick, is quite literally like compared to as a 7'3" Kevin Durant. Like that is the level of like best prospect since LeBron, Victor Wembanyama. If
Like,
the
that good, eh?
if the Lakers get like the first pick with their own pick and then have to give it to fucking New Orleans as part of that Anthony Davis trade, and you're looking at arguably maybe the best player in the NBA for the next 15 fucking years, I don't know.
That's
how
why
I'd
you don't
respond.
trade your 2023 first round pick in 2016 or whenever they traded it.
2019, but yeah. It's man.
The
Crypto
NBA is just full of owners that are like your classic dynasty manager trading 2-1s for Dalvin Cook.
Literally though. Mooney, Raymond, Allen Robinson, D Carter, Campbell, or any other free agent receiver. I have some bye weeks in Mooney's the clear answer here.
Mooney's
Not even
clearly
close
the guy
for
I'm
me.
going with here.
Thoughts on Jonathan Taylor this week? I kind of talked about it, but I'm assuming he is going to play. He has been a full participant the last couple of days. It looks
He's
like
not even on the injury report. I don't think he's going to be limited in any way.
I would limit my expectations to more so a mid-range running back too, until I see that explosive ability, until I see this Colts offense really take.
And more importantly, until we see Matt Ryan back playing quarterback.
Apparently, he might play in this game. Side note,
so he's going to be the backup. But I think if Ellinger is a train wreck like he's been, they're probably going to bench him at some point in the game. And I never thought I'd be calling for Matt Ryan after the way like the first 4 games went, but at least they were like staying in games. Like they're getting blown out of the building with Sam Ellinger as the quarterback.
Dude, not to mention, they do have Jeff Saturday in the fold. You know, he's got that pound the rock, set the tone mindset. Former NFL center, played on those good Colts teams. There's literally a viral video of him yelling at Peyton Manning that he wants to run the ball. So I could only imagine what he'll do as a head coach.
Can we get him to coach up their offensive line, which is, by the way, the highest paid in the NFL and playing like one of the worst offensive lines in the league?
Bro, the fact that we're about to see this coach, I'm actually like super excited just to see this because I want to see how the Colts do in Jeff Saturday's first game. This guy was literally on like fucking ESPN a week ago, and now he's coaching in the NFL.
Dude, he ripped on the team that he's playing this week on Twitter on Monday,
bro,
or whatever, or on Sunday night. Like after the Raiders like lost the game, he was like, the Raiders are a train wreck, and like the next day, he's coaching the team that's going to play them this week. Also,
do you see that image that got leaked that apparently he tweeted out a couple weeks ago? You know when Devontae Adams had like a terrible game, he had like 1 PPR point. Jeff Saturday tweeted out, he's like, Devontae Adams no show. He's got me 1 point on my fantasy team, and everybody's just like taking this guy's coaching against Devontae and has him on his fantasy team this week.
That's hilarious.
How's he supposed to know, to be fair, that you just randomly get hired mid-season? I have Mostert and Gus Edwards. I would like to trade one or both to see if I can level up before the deadline. Who would you keep? Who would you trade? I would easily keep Mostert. This is a very, very high-octane offense. I mean, we'll see what the split is between him and Jeff Wilson. At worst, you're looking at maybe a 50-50, 55-45 favor for Jeff. But I think more so Raheem Mostert's going to get back to the standing was prior to this week. More so a 55-60% type of guy, because I do think he's the best running back in this backfield.
I have a 7-leg parlay of alternate rushing and receiving yards. That's a $15 bet that pays out $24,000 if it hits. And Mostert's 60+ rushing yards is one of the best.
I dig that. Hopefully from my fantasy team. That
also,
that
KJ Jefferson isn't playing today, so I don't care about this 12 p.m. window whatsoever.
Damn.
I was interested to see KJ Jefferson versus LSU. I was like, oh, that's an interesting matchup. Let's see what he can do. And he's literally out, which is sick. So.
Yep. How high on Godwin this week? Let's see where I have him actually ranked. Godwin is currently my wide receiver 17 this week. So a clear-cut mid-range wide receiver 2 for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much where he's going to live, honestly.
Yeah, literally.
I have him also at 17. Literally, that's exactly where I have him too. He gets targets. He's not very efficient on them, but he's good in PPR, and he still hasn't scored a touchdown this year. So hopefully he can get to the end zone finally.
I have Allen probably one play. So Goff, Carr, Dalton, Brissett, Rodgers, Wilson. So Goff.
Am I crazy if I go Goff here?
I don't think you are at all. Jared Goff's my quarterback 13 this week, so I actually would go with Goff. I have Goff ranked ahead of Cousins.
Yeah, I didn't have Goff ranked highly, but now that I look at it, I will need to move him up. I think I would rather play Goff than like
Cousins. That's where I have him ranked ahead. Huh?
I think I would rather play Goff than like Trevor Lawrence.
He's one spot behind Lawrence for me. And one spot ahead of Lawrence is Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think Houston's defense actually isn't bad, man. I don't think you'd be crazy to play Goff over him too.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I have Lamar and Justin Fields in my redraft league. Should I try and trade Lamar or Fields? I feel like Lamar name value could get me a lot more in JF. Yeah, like if you can get like proper market value for them, like sure, I don't mind leveraging them in the trade. I also don't think it's
I think Justin Fields is inflated as hell right now because of the 50-point game that he had. I think it's
if you
way
can get fair
smarter to
market,
hold Lamar because Lamar has that upside way more likely to happen rest of the
um,
season. I think Justin Fields will never be worth as much as he is right now.
I was actually generalizing it to both of them. If you can get fair market value for either, you can evaluate
Yeah,
that. But
yeah. If
I
you shove
wouldn't
both, just go to a quarterback needy team and be like, which one do you like?
Yeah.
And because that's what I did, because I had Dak Prescott and Justin Fields in my home league, and I was like, which one do you guys like? And most people said Justin Fields because I figured Justin Fields is coming off a huge game, and Justin Fields is the one I traded. So I think if you just go after, depending on what position you're in your league, like go after a high value handcuff plus for Justin Fields if you don't need another quarterback. Like I just got AJ Dillon for him. You could argue I sold low on Justin Fields. I probably definitely sold low on Justin Fields, but my league's in a position where I'm kind of not going to win anyway unless I take a risk that Aaron Jones gets injured. Because if Aaron Jones gets injured, then AJ Dillon is definitely worth that package. But yeah, if you can get like a mid running back, like if you can get, you might be able to go like Justin Fields and like a low end RB2 or like a wide receiver and get up to like Jonathan Taylor right now, given like the status of Jonathan Taylor's fantasy value.
Yep. Where do we leave off?
Right
Juju, Lazard, Johnson. This is easily Pollard for me. Like I think Pollard. I think Pollard might.
I'm taking Juju here probably.
I will bet you that. I will bet you that right now. Tony Pollard's gonna have a fucking crazy game.
I also would rather have Deontay than Pollard too.
Oh, dude, that's free cash. I'll take either of them. Pick your poison. I'll take either of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think it's a good bet to bet on the most efficient running back in the league or bet against.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott's gonna be back this week. We all know what happens when Zeke is back.
I mean, from Cowboys camp, it looks like it's going to be way more of a 50-50 this week.
I doubt it, dude. We know exactly what happens when Zeke's on the field. They give him the same 60% snap share they've been giving him for 3 years, even though he stinks.
Mike McCarthy addressed it this week, though. So we'll see.
I don't know. He's probably going to have Jerry Jones being like, I paid that guy. Like, put him back in the game.
I need my workhorse running back to take on those dirty touches. Yeah. What's CeeDee Lamb rest of season ranking in that mid wide receiver 1 range?
Yeah, top 12, top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm going to do I'm going to do a rest of season rankings update for Monday. So I'll do the tier list and all that stuff. Cause you guys, every time I do that video, it snaps off for a bunch of views. So I
actually just updated mine.
Yeah. So I'm going to update mine, tomorrow night after the games and get that video out for Monday. Yeah. And do the tier list that I did in the previous weeks.
Good morning, Peace Warriors. Rebuild 4 first, including 101. Wondering what on
what on rookie pick value?
One rookie.
What you trading on one rookie pick value right before trade deadline, maybe, as opposed to right before?
I'm a little bit confused. I'm not gonna lie. Do you understand?
I said,
I'll let you head this, and I'll just tail.
Okay, so
I'm confused.
So I think he means what are our thoughts on trading your rookie picks right before the trade deadline next week, as opposed to trading right before the draft? He said, I feel like league mates are scrambling.
I got it now. Wondering what your thoughts on first round pick value right before trade deadline next week, as opposed to right before the draft. Yeah, if you can keep cooping more, absolutely.
Yeah, don't trade away your picks now.
No,
if you're trading 4 picks, I think you should definitely, if you have pieces that people are going to covet, like if you have Chris Godwin sitting on your team or something like that, and people want to, try and push their chips to the middle and compete, that's definitely usually a smart idea. You can definitely make some deals done like that. He says to get deals done. Is this a window of the draft class being so hyped? Have you had success buying someone with a first right before the deadline that may not have been available at the draft, i.e. Javonte? So he also,
I wouldn't give up first round equity right now.
Some of my first right now for players like a Javonte Williams who's injured, who might be, worth more later.
Maybe if it's a late one, but realistically, I'm not doing that.
I'm almost unless you're guaranteeing me that's 110 to 112, I'd rather re-roll into Sean Tucker, who I'd imagine will be available at 108, 109 area.
Agreed.
Keeper League, DPJ is a free agent. Do I make a roster spot for him? The dude looks good with Watson coming back, but 6th rounder, no, it's too much.
Wait, what?
Giving up a 6th rounder in a Keeper League?
No, do not do that. No.
I think Keeper Leagues are better spent on known commodities.
Yep.
Just draft next year if you like them.
I think if I wait on trying to get the 101, then everyone will know how valued Bijan is. I want to get ahead of the hype for the casual community.
Fair. Right, but what happens if your team that you got, the pick that you have that's 3 and 6 becomes the 101 or the 102 or something like that, right? I understand what your point. You want to get ahead of it, and Bijan absolutely will be the 101 or at least a top 3 pick
Just,
in one quarterback startups this time, come May or whatever. So you would be getting ahead of it for sure. But I'm definitely only going to make that move if it's like really calculated and I know where those picks are going to end up.
Imagine you trade away that pick plus and it ends up being you traded down from like the 101 to the 103 and gave up extra.
Yeah, that's why I'm sketched out, man. Like, I would wait as long as I possibly can to know what pick is going to actually be the 101 or not.
Yeah, agreed.
Because like if that pick is 102, you're fucked. Like you just got fleeced.
Yep. Let me see. I have Geno Smith 3 spots higher than Daniel Jones. So I would go with Geno.
I'd go Danny Dimes.
You want to bet on that?
Sure.
Bet.
I like Geno this week, man, but I don't love the outlook for the defense that he's playing against, man. I think the Bucs defense is going to really hold them.
I think the Seahawks are going to win.
But I think our defense has played well this entire season, and we're actually finally healthy now. So
I think the Seahawks are going to win, though. Personally,
I don't think so. I think the
Seahawks are the 4th best team in the NFC right now.
I disagree. I think with a healthy defense and an offense playing at least as well as they played against the Rams, which isn't saying much, I think we're the 4th best team in the NFC.
Maybe,
but yeah, like dude, we haven't had Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Jamel Dean on the same field at the same time since week 2.
Definitely fair.
And
however,
Winfield is probably the best free safety in the entire league.
He's up there.
I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think he's probably the best free safety in the league. Jamel Dean is playing like an all-pro corner right now.
Yeah.
And Carlton's very good in his own right. Like that's very difficult to pass against. Like Winfield will be on lock at like white on rice, and Jamel Dean and Carlton can handle Metcalf no problem. Like he's a physical receiver. They're physical corners. Like I think you put Dean on Metcalf and you don't look back. Like he has the speed to keep up with him too.
Fair. Please. I hope not. God, I would cringe. Jimmy G or Geno? Give me Geno. I'm assuming you still go Geno here.
I would still go Geno there. Yeah.
Okay. Mostert, Gus on my RB3-4 on my roster. Definitely keep Mostert over Gus in my opinion.
Yeah.
Colt Raiders game has the game of massive disappointment, and Colts somehow win this week. I actually could see this happening, dude. Jeff Saturday,
if the Raiders lose to the Colts with Jeff Saturday, that is a fucking train wreck of a season for them. You trade picks away for Devontae Adams, thinking you're going to make noise in your division, and you sign Chandler Jones, who has been a fucking useless signing so far this year.
Awful this year,
dude. Coming into the year, like, oh man, you add Devontae Adams to that offense, it's going to be so explosive. You add Chandler Jones opposite Max Crosby, it's going to be such a great addition to that team. And you've just been awful, like on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, no, their defense might be the worst in the league, genuinely.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Well, by the way, imagine like the Colts are losing by like 3 at halftime, and then Jeff Saturday's just like, "Give me the pads, I'm going to go in at center."
I mean, the way Ryan Kelly's playing, it'd probably be an upgrade.
For real though. Dude, Jeff Saturday is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. You think so?
Yeah, he's got a decent resume for it. It's got a ring. I mean, like 7 Pro Bowls and shit, which are somehow inexplicably used to determine Hall of Fame voting is using Pro Bowls.
Playoffs 12 of his 14 years too.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, he had Peyton Manning as his quarterback, so usually how it goes. He also had 2 Hall of Fame receivers.
Yeah, hey, Harrison and fucking Wayne.
And a Hall of Fame running back.
Yeah, no, literally.
For some of that.
By the way, did you see that guy on TikTok who said that Damien Harris isn't good? He's just a tryhard.
That's not a bad take, to be honest. I think Damien Harris is good, but like
Pierce.
Oh, Damian Pierce. Yeah. I mean, Damien Harris also kind of fits that description too.
I just found it hilarious. He's like, he's not a good running back. He'll just take 27 carries for 139 yards, which is good, but he'll break 4 tackles to get 6 yards. Like, why does he need to do that? Just fucking stop trying so hard.
Dude, I think that Chris Carson died and reincarnated as Damian Pierce. Legitimately. Because their timelines intersect perfectly.
They're actually like very similar players.
I think Carson just died and came back as Damian Pierce. Legitimately, I think that's what happened.
I mean, one was an undrafted running back, one was a 4th round pick. So I mean, you got the late draft.
No, Carson was taken the 7th round.
Was he a 7th rounder?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah,
he was part of 2017 class, right?
Yeah, the dumbass best running back class of all time.
Oh, it's silly. I saw a stat that if Jamal Williams finishes as a top 12 running back this year, he's currently the running back 15.
He'll be like the 11th running back to do so from that class.
12th.
Yeah,
12th
because
to
I
finish as an
did
RB1.
in my Twitter thread about the running back fall off. I think I had that 11 running backs had done it. It was like, the usual CMC, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara types that were drafted early. But like we've had top 12 seasons out of Austin Eckler, who was undrafted, out of Chris Carson, who was a 7th round pick, out of Aaron Jones, who was a day 3 pick. Like it's crazy how many running backs came from that class. Marlon Mack, who was a day 3 pick, also had a top 12 season. Like it's insane.
Yeah, no, I agree. AO just watched JMO's tape, kind of obsessed. Do I spend one of my late first and AJ Dillon on him? That's too expensive.
That's too much. Yeah. I would give you either of those. If you could
yeah.
get it done with either of those, I would do it.
If you prefer JMO to Traylon at this point, I wouldn't hate you for that personally. Like if you think like, because I think JMO and Traylon are the same tier right now, given that Traylon's been hurt, given that JMO hasn't played either. So
my opinion hasn't changed on either player. I know people are going to waver a little bit on the pre-draft thing that Traylon was ahead of, like, because I think Traylon was a tier ahead of
I agree.
JMO, but I haven't seen anything to tell me otherwise. So I think I would still take Traylon.
I would as well.
Some people did have JMO over Traylon before.
That's basically what I was getting at. I personally would take Traylon over JMO, but if you prefer JMO, like I wouldn't hate you if you traded Traylon for JMO. Like when we're talking like tier ahead, by the way, like we're talking about like the wide receiver 18 in Dynasty versus my wide receiver like 22.
Yeah.
So they're still very close. Also, your camera just turned off.
Yeah, I think it may have died. Anyways,
that might be a good time to sign off.
Yeah, it might be a good time to sign off here. So we will head off. You guys can no longer see me, but appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you have any other questions, again, feel free. You guys have our Patreon DMs. Just send them over there.
Twitter,
we will
everything.
see you guys live tomorrow morning, Sunday at 11:30, 11:45 a.m. Eastern for the game. So hopefully you guys have your college games queued up and all that kind of stuff. But Corey actually asked one more questions. We'll get to this real quick. These are the wide receivers I have on a team I'm rebuilding: Pierce, Wandale, Rondale. That's a mouthful. DPJ, Bell, Mooney, Claypool. I mean, you got a bunch of, other than JMO, you have a bunch of guys that are like ceiling wide receiver 25 in Dynasty. Probably. A lot of upside with those guys that you have.
I would maybe try to leverage a couple of them to see if you can get like a surefire stud.
Yeah. Like Burks would be a good guy to go after, I think, with using a couple of those. If you could take Wandale and Rondale and go up to Burks, I think that would make some sense. Trade the
Mario and Luigi
guys that might be combined a height of Traylon Burks.
They're literally just Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Anyways, peace out. We'll talk to you guys later.
Peace out.